Well, thanks for taking some time to sit with me today,
Of course.
Bill. Before we get into it, when was the last time you saw somebody from Prudential?
I think when they delivered the policy, when I took it out 9 years ago.
About
yeah.
9 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess first things first. What was the original reason for the policy?
Yeah, I took it out when we bought our first house.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so we've actually bought a second house since then, but so we bought the house, so it was, there'd be some money there for her to take care of the mortgage and, that kind of thing.
Right, absolutely. And we see, people in your position all the time. That's, when we ask, why'd you take this policy out? Always mortgage.
Yeah.
So we do, not sure what the sort of relationship you had with your last Prudential advisor was, if any.
Yeah.
And we hear that one a lot too.
Yeah.
But my role with the company is more as a financial advisor, and what that means to me is seeing where the policy fits into your overall situation.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'll do with somebody who, hasn't had a relationship with Prudential in a while is run through a quick questionnaire, get to know your situation a little bit better. That way any advice I give you on the policy you have here, we know makes sense in the bigger picture.
Makes sense.
Sound fair?
Yeah.
Good. So we'll start just verifying the information we already have. We'll start with the easy stuff.
Okay.
So you're 36 years old?
Yep.
Okay. You married, Bill?
I am.
Okay. What's her name?
Sarah.
Sarah. And what's her date of birth?
4/11/81.
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
No, I know that one.
Great. And I think we communicated through email.
Right.
What's the best number to reach you on?
Actually, the one you're calling on.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Great. So, have you here at 5786 Widewaters Parkway? Is that still up to date?
That's good.
Great. Where are you working, Bill?
Work for First Niagara, soon to be KeyBank.
Soon to be KeyBank. Yeah. Always, I actually have a lot of clients who either retired from banks or are currently working there, and they're always getting bought out and sold.
Yeah, I was an HSBCer actually, probably.
Really?
So
So you know how the process goes then.
Yeah.
So what do you do there?
I'm branch manager.
Great. How long have you been doing that?
A branch manager for about 6 years.
How long have you been with the company then? Or how long have you been at that physical bank?
14 years.
Great. So you could say you have some experience there,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Where's the First Niagara located?
It's actually right downtown.
Great.
Yeah.
Right. Any children?
Yep, 3.
3. Wow. What's the age range there?
13, 10, and 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Boy, girl?
All girls.
All girls. Wow. Must get lonely then.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so what we ask people to take a look at, because like I mentioned, we do full financial planning now. So when we sit with people who haven't seen anybody for a while, typically what we'll show them are these 8 little check boxes over here.
Okay.
And what those represent are pretty general financial priorities that when we sit down with somebody, we find at least 1 or 2 of them is on their mind.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's anything that jumps out to you, feel free to exit out, and we can tailor the conversation around that.
I would say those.
Okay. So we've got preparing for retirement, saving and investing for your future, and saving for your children's education.
Right.
I imagine.
Right. Yep.
Great. So let's just start with retirement then. I guess paint me a picture. What does that look like to you? You're 36 right now.
Looks like it's far away.
Yeah.
It looks like.
Perfect world, it would be a year from now, but
I mean, it's kind of far away. I don't know that I know exactly what it looks like, other than I know I want it to happen, and I know that I don't want to have to really, worry about money at all. I mean, we don't need to live, an extravagant lifestyle, but at the same point, want to be able to do the things that we want to do without having to think about it too much.
And that's, if you ask any 30, 40-year-old what they want their retirement to look like, it's pretty much stress-free. They don't want to be worrying about how you're going to pay the bills and things like that.
Sure.
Okay. So I guess that kind of goes along with saving and investing
Yeah,
for
I didn't
your
really
future.
see there's not a huge difference between those two things. I don't know. I don't think that there's anything really major that we're saving for. My wife could have different plans.
Right.
But I don't think that there's any other major expenditures coming. I mean, maybe like a bathroom remodel or something like that, but nothing nothing major. I think we're in the house that we're going to retire in. Probably downsize after the baby's grown. So so I guess retirement and education really are the 2 biggies.
Right. So So what's your strategy around that now, saving for retirement and trying to fund your children's education?
Not a good one.
Yeah.
So, we are doing stuff to save for retirement, putting money away, on a regular basis. Education, it's a little bit haphazard. We got 5 to 9 plans for the kids.
Okay.
But it's nothing that is, substantial and regular.
Kind of
It's
sporadic when you think
we
about
get a
it.
tax return, now it's cut it in thirds and put it in their accounts and, that kind of thing, or, when they get, or when we got, a bonus comes in or whatever, maybe take some of that, but we're not making a regular contribution. So it's kind of one of those things that, you cover your eyes, if I can't see you, you can't see me type thing.
Right.
So it's nerve-wracking to say the least.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that might be something we could help you out with, put together some plans for you, but, we want those to be relevant to your situation.
Sure.
So let's just, I call it a snapshot. So let's get a snapshot of what your financial situation looks
Okay.
like
Sure.
right now.
That's fair.
First thing I like to look at is what the debt is. So we'll get the bad stuff out of the way first.
Okay.
Mentioned you just bought a house recently?
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you carry a mortgage on that?
Of course, yeah.
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 Do you know approximately what the balance is?
About 225.
Must be a nice house then, huh?
It's okay. We got some land too. So
Really?
Yeah.
Great. Do you know how long you'll be paying that off for?
The rest of my life.
Rest?
So 27 years left of the mortgage. I got a 30-year note.
Okay. Around what the interest rate is there?
Yeah, it's 3 3/4.
And so when you're paying the bill on that, are you putting extra towards it, or are you?
No, not typically.
Okay.
With the interest rate being so low, we just typically make the regular payment.
Right. You're one of the good ones that sees that. So the next biggest one is typically cars.
Yeah.
What's that look like for you guys?
Yeah, we both have car loans. I don't know the balances off the top of my head. Maybe like 24 on hers, 18 on mine, something like that. Yeah, we have 4.
So
years
call
left
it
on each.
42-ish and change, maybe all
Yeah,
put together.
something like that.
Do you know the timeline of when that would be
Yeah,
expected
both
to
would
be?
4 years for both of them.
4 years on both.
We'll have a car payment for the rest of our lives.
One of those bills that never goes away.
Yep.
Same question. You putting extra towards that, or okay? Right. Any existing student loans between the two of you?
Yeah, we do. Nothing crazy. We both pay a little over $100 a month. I think combined we probably have, I don't know, 15 grand.
50. Oh, not bad. Not bad. And that's between the two of you, you
Yeah.
said? Okay. Timeline on that, when they expect that to be done?
We did the consolidation program back in, I'm thinking it was like 03, 04, so I don't know, I would say probably another at least 10 years. Yeah.
Okay.
That's something I'd like to get those taken care of. And they're just a nuisance, those $100 a month payments.
Mhm. So is that $100 a month? Is that between the two of them, or 100 each?
It's 100, mine's 104, hers is 105.
Okay.
Maybe vice versa.
So is that what they're asking you to pay? That's the minimum payment
Yeah.
there? Okay. So next thing we like to take a look at, everybody's favorite, how's your credit card situation?
Not bad. 'Tis the season, right? So my wife is doing her best to keep Amazon in business.
Mhm.
So we've got like maybe $2,500 on an Amazon credit card right now, but I anticipate that'll be paid off by probably February or so.
Okay.
We don't typically carry a balance.
Okay, that was what I was gonna ask. So it's typically, holiday season, pretend we're in February, you don't really typically run a balance, or if you
Yeah,
do-
no. So the plan is usually let's pay this thing down before we get our tax return, and then if there's anything left on it, then we use our tax return to pay that off. Then whatever's left gets split to the kids' 500 plans.
Great.
So.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the debt situation.
Yep.
How's cash flow? Are you salary or hourly with the
Salary.
bank? Okay. But you mentioned you get bonuses too.
Occasionally, her bonuses are more frequent than mine.
Okay. What does she do?
She works for a company called M&L International. She's an import manager. I tell people she's a drug dealer.
Yeah.
But yeah, she does international logistics.
Great.
Yeah.
So wheeling and dealing then, huh?
She's dealing, yeah.
So what's your typical salary?
Like 75.
75. Okay. And what's hers?
Hers is like 85, and then bonus is usually around 10.
Okay, so call it around 95. So you have, between the two of you guys, about 170 coming in
That's right.
on it. Okay. So that's money coming in. How about money going out? Do you guys keep a budget?
Yeah, I do. Pretty tight budget.
Okay. You know, ballpark what your monthly expenses, you know, pretend we're outside of the giving season.
Yeah, so, including debt, it's about 6 grand.
About 6 grand. And that's relatively, you know, obviously some months are going to be a little bit different, but that's
Sure.
about the average.
I would say so.
Okay, so call it, so with 170 coming in, you know, if you're lucky, you know, we are in New York State, so would you say you clear about 120, somewhere around there after taxes?
Doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
But let's see. So I'm just doing math in
Yeah.
my head now. 2, 4. It's probably more like 100, I would think.
Okay,
Yeah.
so call it,
You know, with 401k contributions and all that stuff, it's around 100. So we clear about eight grand a month.
8 grand a month.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're just
A
putting,
little less maybe.
okay, so 8 is coming in, 6 is going out. What do you do with the, so you got,
It's a great question.
always seems to disappear.
Yeah, so I mean, so that, so I would say that that's, you know, like that would go for like groceries and stuff like that, so I didn't include that in the cash flow.
Mhm.
We put some of that in savings. Actually, you know what, I would say like gas, car maintenance, all that kind of stuff would be included in that cash flow piece. But we do put, you know, we try to put like about $500 a month into savings.
500 in savings,
And
great.
then, you know, the rest is for, you know, groceries, you know.
Apparently kids have to eat, that's what they tell me.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, always need something, you know, we got one involved in sports, so
Mhm.
whether it's, you know, shin guards or basketball shoes or whatever it is, you know, we always buy
Shoulder
something.
pads.
Yeah, so, yeah, there's always something going on.
Right.
Yeah, that's about right.
So you mentioned 500's going into your savings. That's kind of your rainy day fund in
Mhm.
case anything comes up.
I would like to say yes. I mean, we don't necessarily use it that way.
Mm.
We definitely dip into savings for non-emergency things. You know, so.
Got to go to Florida every now and then,
We
right?
just got back from Disney. That's
Really?
right. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So I guess what would you say on average you keep in that kind of
I'd
the
like
rainy
to-
day
yeah,
fund?
on a good day, 7. On a normal day, 5.
Okay.
Today, it's like 3.
Right. Okay. So do you keep a separate checking account as
Yeah.
well? Okay.
And maybe a couple $100 of, you know, cushion in there, but nothing crazy.
Okay. So, you know, along the asset conversation, you know, you mentioned you are contributing to your 401k right
Yeah.
now. You get a match through there?
I do. Yep.
What percentage?
So I'm putting in 10. They give me 6.
10, getting 6.
Mhm.
That's 6 is good. That's
Yeah.
I think the average is around 4 or 5, so
Yep.
you got the extra 1% there.
Yeah, it's a good plan.
Great. Do you know about ballpark what you have in there?
But 90.
90. Okay. What about your wife? Is she contributing to anything through work right now?
They actually don't even have anything through work.
Really?
No. So, but they pay for our health insurance, so it's kind of this weird
Give and
trade-off.
take.
Yeah. So we're putting money into a Roth IRA for.
Okay,
we
right.
do $250 a month into a Roth IRA.
Then so do you have a Roth IRA as well? Is
I
it just
don't.
okay? Do you know approximately what the balance is there?
It's about 16,000.
Great. Great. How long has she been contributing to that?
For about 5 years.
It adds up pretty quick, huh?
Yeah.
Do you know who that plan is through?
Yeah, it's through Vanguard.
Vanguard, right. So you have the 401k through your current employer.
Right.
Any 401ks through previous employers?
No, I mean I've worked for First Niagara since college.
That's
Yeah.
right. 36. Been there since
Right.
you were 20. How long has your wife been with? How long has your wife been a drug dealer?
She's been a drug dealer for about 10 years. With a current dealer for about 5 years.
About 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Where was she before that?
A company called Mohawk.
Mohawk.
Logistics.
Yeah. So did they offer any benefits that she got to take with her as well?
She had a 401k there, and it's still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Do you know who that's through?
I think it's
Thinking about things that you left 5 years ago?
Yeah, no, we still get statements though, so it's, I think it's T. Rowe Price is who we get that statement from.
Okay, great. So we have her Roth, your 401k that you're contributing to, your emergency savings, and the old 401k. Any other assets?
Other than the house, no. Yeah.
Count on that one, huh?
That's
You
right.
got the house.
Reverse mortgage.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the asset conversation. Just kind of thinking out loud here, so your wife seems to like the Roth IRA. What are your thoughts on that? Are you familiar with how those work?
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I wish we had a Roth option in our 401k. We don't. But I feel like, with putting money into my 401k, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. It just comes out of my paycheck, so I don't have to think about it.
Right.
Whereas when I see that deduction for the $250 from our checking account every month go into the Roth IRA, it's like, ugh.
Right.
So it's a little bit more painful.
Well, you got to think about it as, we tell people, pay yourself first. And you mentioned you're thinking about retirement. That's how you get a comfortable retirement is putting that money away.
Yeah.
And you guys look like you're doing a good job. We talk to people about having different buckets of money to draw from. So fast forward, hopefully 30 years when you're getting ready to retire.
Yeah.
You'll have your 401k. If her employer starts a plan, hopefully you'll have one there, and you'll have the Roth.
Sure.
So different buckets of money to draw from.
Right.
So that's kind of your snapshot of what your financial situation is. One thing we talk to people about too, you mentioned it wasn't really on your mind, but just from talking to you, protection is something we also talk to people about. And what we mean by that is, your most valuable asset at this point is your paycheck. So if something were to happen to you, that paycheck stops going in, and then it's about little less than half of the money coming in, so a pretty considerable chunk there. And that protection is life insurance, and you seem to know that. You had the term policy. Do you carry other coverage through work or other companies?
I have some through work.
Have some through work. Do you know about ballpark what that is?
It's 2 times my salary.
Okay, so call it 150 through work. Do you know if you get to keep that when you retire?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And we see that a lot. And if you do, it's probably a little pricey.
Sure.
So, one thing that we talk to people about, has anybody ever done a quick life needs analysis on you just to see what amount of coverage you should have?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So if you want, we can run through that right now just to kind of give you my recommendation there. Okay. So what we start with is final expenses. People have tried. Apparently, there's no way around them. And for a funeral,
right.
I guess if you had to write a check right now to cover, so if you passed away yesterday and you have a funeral planned for, what would you write that check for?
Probably 10 grand.
10 grand, and that's the I've sat at a lot of kitchen tables, and that's the industry average is 10 grand. So I would agree with you there.
Okay.
What most people would want covered, at least partially, maybe fully, is any existing debt, especially the mortgage, which seems like you're in that school of thought. If something happens to you, you want the mortgage paid off.
Yeah.
Of the debts we talked about, so the mortgage, the car loans, and student loans, and small credit card, are there any debts that you're not particularly worried about, that you wouldn't really worry about them being covered if something were to happen?
No, I would just as soon have it all taken care of.
Have it all. So
Yeah.
ballpark it at about
Like 300 grand.
Yeah. $1,000 in debt. And the last thing that a lot of people don't really think about, like I said, the paycheck is your most valuable asset at this point. So if something happens to you, that household budget gets cut pretty much in half. So we tell people, you can't replace somebody emotionally, you can't replace them physically, but you can replace them financially, and that's where life insurance comes in.
I like that.
Yeah. So you have a 1-year-old. How long this is a loaded question, but
Sure.
say you, after taxes, if you're lucky, hopefully clearing about 55,000. How long would you want that income covered for if something were to happen to you yesterday?
I mean, as long as my wife needs it, so I would say at the very least, I want to make sure that, Quinn is through college. So what's that, 20 years from now?
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the industry average too.
Yeah.
Things are a little bit different than they were 30 years ago. It's not you turn 18, you're out of the house on your own. College is a little bit more expensive than it
Right.
was. People are more reliant on their parents for a longer time. So
Yeah.
we'll call it 20 years, and just for the sake of simplicity, call it 50 grand after taxes, and the money that you get to spend on yourself, what little it is.
Yeah.
So that's $1 million. 20,
Yeah,
20
if
years,
you
50.
stuck it under the mattress, it would be.
Right. Okay, so the number I see that after going through this exercise, it's around 1.3 million. So when you hear that number, what are your
That seems really high.
seems high.
Yeah.
And I would be inclined to agree with you in that it is a big number.
Mhm.
But when we look at protection, if something happens to you, that paycheck's gone forever. And like you said, you want to cover yourself until Quinn's at least in college,
Mhm.
at least through college. So it is a big number, but it's meant to cover you for a long time.
Yeah.
And you do have that. You do have the coverage through work, so we'll call it 1.1 million. Is that a little bit more of an agreeable number? Do you think it's too high, too low?
I guess I don't know. I mean, it's a big number either way. So, yeah, it's just a big number
Yeah,
either way.
and you're right. It's when you see that 1.1 million, that's a lot of coverage to have. Typically, what we find, when we run through this exercise and people say that's a big number, what they're really saying is, that sounds pretty expensive to have 1.1 million in life insurance
Well,
coverage.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that's where I was going.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, there are more than one way to skin a cat here.
Sure.
What we talk to people about, are you familiar with the different types of life insurance?
Not tremendously familiar, but I mean, I know the difference between like term and whole.
Right. So you have the term
Yeah.
that's obviously expiring
Yeah.
in a year here. So the strategy that we show people, you're going to want some permanent coverage outside of work. What that number is, that's really your preference.
Mhm.
It's not my number, it's yours. What
Sure.
you want permanent outside of work, it's up to you. And we might get the rest in term. And a lot of people like that strategy because term insurance, it has a specific end date.
Mhm.
And the best part about that is that for what you're getting, it's pretty much dirt cheap.
Sure.
So somebody, well, how's your health? Let me ask you
It's good.
that.
Good.
Any
Yeah.
history of heart attack, cancer, stroke?
No.
Do you smoke?
Nope.
Okay, good. You diabetic?
No.
Okay. And those are the big questions. So I would say, your height and weight looks good, that you could get a favorable health rating from
Mhm.
Prudential. So $1 million in term would probably run you about, maybe 100, 150 a month.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but
Yeah.
through my experience, that's probably what you could expect.
Okay.
You mentioned you have about an extra 2,000 a month coming in. To allocate that towards protecting you and your family in case something were to happen.
Well, as
to
I
you.
said, the 2,000 a month. I mean, we use that for, like you said. I mean, somebody said kids have to eat.
Right.
That definitely is going to the groceries. Put money in the savings account. So there's not a ton of extra money kicking around, but yeah, I mean, $100 a month is probably doable. Yeah.
And that's for somebody making what you make.
Mhm.
That's in the ballpark of what most people look at to allocate towards a strategy like this.
Okay.
We can have the conversation of what how much, if any, do you want in permanent life insurance coverage, and fill the rest with term. But
Okay.
what I would recommend we do, let's set up another time to get together. Let me at least put together a couple different options for you, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
What would probably be helpful is if we could sit down with the two of you. I know you were nice enough to come into the office here, but when is typically a good time to get?
Actually, she could come in this time next week. Usually this time is good for her, it just wasn't today.
Okay, perfect. And something we might talk about, not to throw too much at you, but you mentioned preparing for retirement's important, yeah?
Yeah.
And that, employer-sponsored plans, the 401ks, any Roth 401ks, things like that, they're great for when somebody is working at a company because you get that match. What we show people is, when you leave a company like your wife did, let's look at rolling that into a individual retirement account. And what that is if we decided to go that route, it's really just a tax-free rollover.
It's like her Roth IRA, right?
Well, so the Roth is a little bit different where you pay taxes on the money coming in.
Right, so the tax benefits are different, but it's the same kind of thing. It's an IRA.
It's an IRA with a company outside of her employer.
Gotcha.
Because where she's at now with the 401k through the other drug dealer she worked for, what we ask people is, when was the last time somebody from T. Rowe Price called?
Never.
Right. And we get that a lot because you're no longer with the plan. If you want to make any changes or get an update, you either wait for the statement or you have to call in, talk to somebody new,
Right.
who you've never met before. The benefit of a tax-free rollover into your own IRAs, and you have an advisor to work with. It's the same person. Assuming you guys like me enough, I'd like to be that person.
Okay.
So when we get together to talk about the life insurance, again, not to throw too much at you, but we might have that conversation to at
That's
least
fair.
show you some options on that.
That's fair.
Sound good?
Yeah.
So before we kind of end things here, do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't think so.
Great. So I'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
Good. Thanks for coming in.
All right.